Hi Dad, it's me, your son. I know you haven't contacted me and probably don't want to hear from me. So I'm just putting this out here for a few reasons so that should you ever run into anyone from PodLayer, they can tell you how I feel on the subject, and which is that I miss you greatly. I miss you greatly, and I miss our conversations on all kinds of stuff. Even though we disagree on many things. But unfortunately, my spirits are demanding that I go this way to show the truth that I have that will help the world out so much. And I just have to do that and not come off the mark. So you taught me that once you know the heroic thing to do, you have to stand by that and you have to follow the course. So that's what I'm doing, although I've had to do a lot of things that I wish I didn't have to do. And when I did them, I didn't do them as best I could have. So I wish I'd done better on that, but it is what it is. But I had to do it, and I have to continue to go the way I'm going. But you're on my mind all the time. I miss talking to you. I talk to you a lot, just out and about. I talk to spirits that are close to me. I talk to Granddad. I talk to you. Part of Truthfire is being authentic about how I work, and I talk to my spirits, and they give me insights. And people can learn from this because I'm the person who is, originating PodLayer, but also I'm just a Naiji in general, and people can take note, other Naiji can, but also people can fill in the variables for themselves and get a lot of lessons out of me doing my peak pathway as authentically and as at a high level as I can. So I'm supposed to push myself. My spirits say I'm supposed to push myself at my utmost to be the best hero I can be, and then I'm supposed to be as revealing about that as I'm comfortable with. And I think you know me well enough to know that I'm not comfortable with revealing myself, which is why I probably, I was harsh and rushed on when I left my past peoples, because I just really couldn't. It was so uncomfortable. I just really need to get past that as quick as I could. So I actually tried to reveal as little as I could and get it over with as fast as I could, which is not the best way to do things. But sometimes when you're really dealing with a lot of pain and anxiety, you just kind of get through that obstacle course of enlightenment as fast as you can. Anyway, so hopefully you do it again, or go further in the same way, where you help other people through, you do a better job. So that's what I'll do. I'll learn my lessons and I'll do a better job. But I guess the main thing is getting around. I miss you a lot. I miss talking with you, and I need to reveal that to my students so they know just that's on my mind, so they understand my state of being better, and also the way I work. That I talk to my dad about a lot of stuff. There's other people I've had in my life that have been very important to me as well, very impactful, and when they have not been what I needed them to be at the time, or when I just was not having access to them, my spirits and they will take those forms and teach me through them anyway. I'll continue to have these dialogues. That's part of how I work. I continue to have these conversations with these spirits of beings that I've met. They come into my simulator. So my dad is one of the main ones. He's a very powerful influence in my life. My mom is as well, and several other people. But my dad, probably the strongest, just because he and I did the most stuff together. And then, of course, he is also a male Naiji like myself. So the bond there is as intimate as it can get as far as understanding a storyline. He and I have the same storyline. And we share that, so that's a deep bond. And then we have a lot of worldly activities that kind of play off that we also bond heavily on. So I guess that's all I really can say for now, because I've kind of set my spirits one as far as revealing my process, and I said what I need to say to my dad, which is that I have to keep going the way I'm going, but I miss him greatly. I think about him a lot, and I wish to continue in an honorable way to converse with his spirit. And that's meant to educate people and to educate myself about higher things, because my spirits talk to me that way, and to honor yourself and our relationship as best I can, and the potential that our relationship could be in the future. So that is the spirit that I'll be doing it in. So I hope you won't take it as being disrespectful. I'm just going to be as honest and as authentic as I can. So one thing, for example, that I miss a lot is movies. We used to watch movies together all the time, and when we do that, we would discuss everything about the movie afterwards, like what was the point of the story, were the characters doing what they should have in different scenes, who could have been cast better, should the ending been the way it was, is this like other movies that have similar motifs. We would just go into it, we would just get in the car and start talking about it. We'd park somewhere, and next thing you know, the whole day had gone by, and I was just kind of just breaking those cases. Story, you know, human story. My mom and I also really greatly enjoyed that as well. We tended to use other conduits, more metaphysical conduits, which I also greatly enjoyed and learned a lot from. Although again, both my parents, the skills I learned through them were good, but they also taught me where I differed from them, and I continued on that journey, as my spirits told me I needed to, of having a lot of good lessons I learned from my parents, and then some other ones where I'm like, okay, I disagree about that. So I'm going to be as respectful as I can, but I do disagree with my parents on certain things. I'm sure they disagree with me, but I believe natural law does confirm what I'm saying, and I'm trying to lay that case out. So just like with the other PSAs, I have to be as honest as I can when I'm talking in general, but of course I want to be respectful as I can in certain circumstances if it's warranted. And with my family, people I know in the past, I do want to be respectful, but I also have to be authentic. So it's a balancing act again. In Truthfire, we keep bringing up that concept. It's a balancing act, and I want to let you aware of all these balancing acts I'm doing, both so you can understand me as a person, you can understand where Pod Layer comes from, the process that creates it, and then also just for yourself how humans are, that this is kind of a human being human. So Dad, I don't know what you're up to these days, but I know you like watching movies a lot. I know you like watching MMA fights, for example. Chaz does as well. So you two are probably two most likely to take a look at what I'm doing, my work. So I'm hoping that you will someday, and I will kind of go with that principle in mind. So in Mojo Journal, a YouTube channel is going to be opening up soon. We're going to be doing a lot of kind of a story breaking, you know, current events, you know, disaster stuff, triumph, comedy, all kinds of things that are relevant to what's going on. And that will include media such as music and movies and reviewing them. So it would feel very good to actually speak to the spirit of my dad in particular, and also some other people like Chaz, whatever, particularly my dad when it comes to the movies, about what's going on in there, in the way that, for example, my dad and I used to naturally do, because that's where I first really kind of learned to talk in that way and to break down motifs like that. So it feels very natural to speak to my father spirit to do that. But then I will add in the Pod Layer lens, as if you knew Pod Layer right now, Dad, and could see it. I'm going to talk in that way, but I will kind of teach it as we go along, and this can be very helpful to people who are watching as well. So it's going to be a very healing process for me. It's a reach out to my dad, and then hopefully other people watching it, they will see the truth of what's going on and the beauty behind it. So one of the most beautiful, you know, moments for me was like hanging out with my dad talking about these movies. It's a very, you know, high level thing for me, all the way up to my Shiny Baby and beyond. So that's what I feel would be a worthy offering to bring forward in Truthfire. Truthfire is very demanding of me at the highest levels, and so that's worthy, and so I'm going to try and do that. So in the Mojo Journal channel is coming out. You can expect to see lots of movie reviews coming out. I've been waiting on doing that because Mojo Journal couldn't come out until I did a few other things, like you know, putting out a lot of the material that's been put out so far. It's been very hard for me, revealing myself that much. It's really not easy. I'm a very secretive person. Niger like that in general, but I've had a life that's made me, you know, I definitely used secrecy to help protect myself. So getting up the courage to do all these reveals. I'm doing so many reveals of myself and the way I think and what I believe in at such a rapid pace. I'm basically dealing with panic attacks every day. So that's kind of what's going on there. But I've gotten to the point now where my spirits believe that I'm ready to do the Mojo Journal. I put out enough of my theory, enough of the channels are out. We've dropped enough samples, we've done enough dismantlings of other models that are stupid and inferior to kind of show what I'm doing and the case I'm bringing. I'm going to keep going to infinity, but I've kind of like shown myself enough to present myself. So now I can kind of do some things that are a little more fun for me. Now that I've kind of done all the hard stuff I need to do, and a big one of that is going to be I'm going to treat myself to discussing movies and what I think about them, and I'm going to speak to the spirit of my dad while I'm doing that. So anyway, on that, Dad, I'll just throw these out here right now. I'll go more in depth when I actually do ones for a Mojo Journal. I'll try to do more of the actors and get more into it. But ones that I just saw that we were talking about was Looper. I think you find this fascinating. Is the main character is Bruce Willis, and his younger self is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now, I know you're really into like cracking cases of forensics and disguise, all that kind of stuff. People try to hide things. Okay, this is really kind of interesting thing to follow is being a believable older and younger version. Is one thing we found is that people who cast in movies often have very good eyes. They tend to, when it comes to like relationships and as far as chemistry, and then also for picking frequently the same actors to play a reoccurring theme, like they're going to pick a new Sherlock Holmes, a new Tarzan, a new this or that. They tend to actually get the mojo again of actors that have played that role previously. So it's a fun way to kind of look at it. They actually did a casting. They miscast. Not that Bruce Willis was not awesome. He was. And not that Joseph Gordon-Levitt wasn't awesome. He was. So actually by pre-Podler standards, it was well cast because both actors acted very well. They had chemistry together, and etc. Except if you have an advanced lens for reading humans, you can clearly tell that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a Naiji, the mojo that you and I are, and also Chaz, and several other people that we know. And that Bruce Willis is a Nai Z. So they're both Nai Alpha. They have Nai first, speculation, prediction, independence of mind, groundbreaking, cunning, that kind of thing, insights, perspective shifting. Both of the Nai Alpha have that, and they're very represented in movies. Like tons of Oscar winners have are Nai Alpha, males and females. So that's cool, but they actually have a different mouth. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like us, has the G mouth, the aware mouth, like you, and it goes up above the midline, whereas Bruce Willis, it doesn't. So it's interesting when they're on screen together and you as the audience are supposed to actually believe that they are the older and younger versions. Not if you can mojo read, because you can clearly tell that actually Joseph Gordon-Levitt can never grow into Bruce Willis. It's not possible. He doesn't possess the same cognitive configuration or mojo setup, which means his face is totally different. The fascia, the muscles that move, the way it works is just different. Extra interesting because they did prosthetics. I was wondering how they're going to do that. I was wondering how they're going to try and make them look more similar. They didn't use CGI, I don't think. I'm not sure. I heard they used prosthetics around certain key areas, eyes and mouth, whatever, to make Joseph Gordon-Levitt look more Bruce Willis-like. But you'll like this. It's harder. It is harder to see that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is an IG. I didn't know they were doing this, but they were trying to do a little slight changes around the mouth, very subtle so it wouldn't look off, to make him look more like Bruce Willis. It doesn't make him look like an IZ, it makes him look kind of like a funky IG. So they kind of like funkified Joseph Gordon-Levitt, so you're kind of like, huh, what is that? I think it's an IG. So it just makes him more odd looking because it kind of basically made him like into an IG alien. You know what I mean? That's all you can really do. Now one thing that would be interesting, Dad, a more difficult forensic case, Demas, we've talked about this, is if they actually did like technology, like CGI or something, where they morph two faces. Like for example, like Avatar. Yes, you got Avatar, and they can like CGI the faces of the actors to be the blue people. Like what's his name? Sam Worthington, also an IG. Sam Worthington's the main character in Avatar, and when he's running around, Sigourney Weaver does it also, and so does Zoe Saldana. Zoe Saldana is a Nijai, and Sigourney Weaver is also, she's another Nai Z. They actually CGI their faces into like the blue thing, and it looks like them, and you can read their mojo. It's harder and it's not as pure. One, because it's not a pure rendering, but also they didn't really know what they were doing. They do a better job of it, all those artists, if they actually know what mojo, because they were able to capture mojo just by trying to render it as best as possible. Just like portrait artists. If you're a good enough portrait artist, you can actually read the mojo. If the portrait artist is not so skillful, they're unable to render Mojo and you couldn't read it. But actually all the artists that are really, really good, they can sometimes do it with minimalistic lines. Minimalistic lines, even exaggerated lines, and it actually, you can read the Mojo they're doing quite clearly. It's really interesting. But you have to be a good artist. You have to be an artist who really can study a subject and then render it. You don't have to, it's kind of the casting people. If you're really studying humans like intensely to put them into a certain way that'll work well artistically, you're working the Mojo reading, people reading muscle. So that's kind of interesting to note, but they didn't get that one right with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis. But one thing could be kind of trippy, I want to mess people's heads, whether they knew it or not subconsciously, is if you took, for example, say Zoe Saldana, she's a Nijai, and you actually somehow took her face and you morphed it with the face of like a Nizai. You know, because they do have similar faces, so probably with CGI you could do that. But then you'd be mixing and matching faces, like for example, you'd be giving them Jai mouth with Zai cheeks. Do you know what I mean? Or Ji mouth with Z cheeks. Which actually can't, that's not humanly possible. Yeah, that's actually quite trippy. Because for example, facial recognition software for like security clearances and things like that, they actually have to track these fine things. So I believe those technologies can be improved and geared towards Mojo reading because they are tracking the topography of the face. Of course, it's more complicated when the face moves, but it is just an increasing algorithm. Anyway, sorry Dad, I think you find this really fast. It's just a fascinating case. So there you go. There's that, and then coming up soon we have Skyfall. So look forward to that, Dad. If you're, happen to be passing by and want to check out Podler a little bit, or maybe, you don't have to say you're doing it, or just, doing a slide, or just, whatever. Check out the movie reviews. I think you'll find that really, really fascinating. So I'll do movie reviews, and I'll go through Mojo and the movie all in detail, and I think you'll just find it like the most cool conversation ever. So I'll just leave with this, is it kind of connects. There's bigger stories here. In Skyfall, you got, what's his name? Daniel Craig, he's a Nai-Z, another Nai-Z. There's lots of Nai Alpha in acting, but there is a preference for casting Nai-Z in sort of like tough guy roles. Although Nai-Z also play very dominant as well. But they tend to be more layered, sensitive badasses, often more ferocious even, but they have more of that humanity to their badassness. Where the Nai-Z tend to have like hard-boiled. Hard-boiled, and they have sort of like a flat, implacable, I'm coming for you. Not unlike Liam Neeson. You probably like that, Dad. Taken, that's Nai-Z, Liam Neeson. So Nai-Z, Liam Neeson from Taken, Nai-Z, Daniel Craig from Casino Royale, and the new one Skyfall, and then now Nai-Z, Bruce Willis in this movie. It kind of, you see something going on here is they like casting the Nai-Z for like this grizzled role. One thing is, Dad, a lot of people you're familiar with in your career, FBI, specialists, stuff that you've done, investigations, is a lot of the top criminals that you probably are aware of in organized crime and just other kinds of things, revolutionary leaders, Black Panthers, all the kind of stuff that you were familiar with in your training, a lot of them are Nai-Z. But when they're cast in movies, the casting directors overwhelmingly tend to cast those roles as Nai-Z. James Bond, by the way, I think his character probably is a Nai-Z. But I'm just saying, overall, they tend to actually cast Nai-Z in that way. And you see this, I believe, in the miscasting of Looper. Because the older Bruce Willis is supposed to be a more hardened character. You know what I mean? And then the younger one, he's supposed to be a little more wild and neurotic, and also he's more relatable, or in a way, for the audience. And he turns into sort of like a more uber badass later on. I mean, he's fairly formidable early on, but he becomes more like just a total like James Bond-esque badass later on. So it's interesting that the casting actually has a Nai-Z playing the character's role early on, because Nai-Z are more sensitive, maybe they're seen that way, because of the G and whatnot, and then the greater HSP, highly sensitive person, they have more like nerves, more awareness of emotion, psychology that kind of gets them very excited. So that let the audience really kind of get into the character of Joseph Gordon-Levitt. But later on, you're supposed to see the Bruce Willis character, who is Joseph Gordon-Levitt grown up, as more badass and more hardened. He's supposed to be scary to the Joseph Gordon-Levitt. The younger version of the character is like supposed to be intimidated of the older version. And the older version, Bruce Willis, doesn't play even this role necessarily the most heroic. He does sort of, but he's kind of off. So the audience is not supposed to get quite as attached to him. So it's just interesting how they did that. I think it would have been better if you actually casted both Nai-Z or both Nai-Ji, and then just had, like, you know, a hard Nai-Ji playing the later role, or if the Nai-Z are playing the roles, have it be a very soulful, you know, relatable Nai-Z. There are lots of Nai-Z very talented can do that. I think that would be that in a post-Baudelaire world, you need to do that because the audience, kind of like suspending disbelief. You know, if the explosions, Dad, you talk all the time. If the explosions suck, if the karate sucks, if the dialogue sucks, it's like you can't believe it. You can't buy that you're in a mafia room. You don't believe that you're in the palace of Louis XV. It doesn't work, right? If the costumes are chintzy, like I can't get into the drama of the moment if all I can think is, wow, it looks like she got that dress from Kmart, and we're supposed to be looking at, like, you know, something like grand. Okay, same with action scenes. If they're phony. You know, the movie's going good, all of a sudden an action scene comes in and it's so phony that, you know what, it just pulled me out of the movie. I don't even think I can watch the movie anymore because it's just so ridiculous now. Unless I'm watching just to make fun of it. But like, it's with Mojo, it's like that, Dad. Once you're actually able to see the Mojo of all humans, then you just can't actually have a character in a story aging into another Mojo because it never, kind of like, cars don't explode like that. I don't think you watched Mythbusters, Dad, you probably really like that too. You know what I mean? They always test, like, would a car actually blow up like that? And you realize, no, cars don't blow up like that. They blow up like this in real life. Okay, that's kind of how it is. So in real life, Mojos do not grow into other Mojos. So casting directors in the future are going to have a higher standard, post-Baudelaire standard. They're going to have a Baudelaire standard for casting movies. So on that, Dad, is that most of the roles, I think it's cool. I mean, because we're Nai-Ji. Nai-Ji are super represented in movies and a bunch of other stuff. That's really cool. And as well as the Nai-Z and G9, a few others for the male leading parts, and Jai-Ni. But it's not a lot. It's not the full spectrum of Mojos. So besides the fact they don't always cast correctly, both by having a younger version, older version of a character match, also by having the mojo of people who actually were the person in real life. Like, they'll actually have, like, criminals. For example, Al Capone is a soft read, Dad, but from photos is a good chance he's a Nai-Ji. And a lot of people who are Al Capone-esque that we have more video of, they're Nai-Ji too. But Robert De Niro, Nai-Z, played him in Untouchables. And so that's something you see quite a lot. Anyway, I guess I rambled on here. It was really good talking to you, Dad. And anyway, you know, if I happen to hear from you in the future, that would just be so awesome. I couldn't put it into words.